For centuries, humankind have always been interested in the representation of the naked body. As an interesting representation of erotica, we can signal shunga, the Japanese erotic art which can be traced from the 17th century. Moving to Europe, in the 18th century, Holywell Street in London was popular for its selling of erotic books, some of them very explicit. A highly eroticized graphic representation was the Pin-Up, who jumped from the pages of Esquire, a monthly magazine, to war aircraft to boost the morale of American soldiers during World War II. A sexual revolution took place in America between 1960 and 1980. The sexual revolution was supposed to be organized parenthood with the legalization of contraception, sex outside marriage, free expression of eroticism, women openly claiming for equal pay and same job opportunities, and it should have signaled the end of patriarchy. But the reality was quite different. Men did not participate in contraception, they embraced as many sexual partners as possible, and women grew frustrated due to the lack of real changes in women's freedom. In the meantime, the democratization of pornography and the sex industry became mainstream. The growing frustration previously mentioned gave way to the third wave of feminism. Feminist organizations began to form, such as Women Against Pornography in New York. Their main concern was violence against women in the form of rape, battery, and incest. Pornography starts to be targeted among different groups of feminists across the USA as a trigger for violence. The feminist sex wars started basically when a lack of agreement regarding sexual matters reached the feminist movement, and it was characterized by anti-porn and sex-positive feminists. Radical feminism and cultural feminism were unable to group under the same umbrella different groups of women. Non-white women lived under the burden of classism, racism, and poverty. Besides, the percentage of non-white women working in the sex trade was quite high. There was also a clash between sex workers and lesbians into bondage, with women against pornography and women against violence in pornography and media. Andrea Dworkin and Catherine McKinnon advocated for legislation to restrict pornography, and although they were able to pass their ordinances in places such as Minneapolis and Indianapolis, they were finally rejected based on the First Amendment ground, which is freedom of speech. What is currently called the golden age of pornography came with the release of Deep Throat into mainstream theaters. Deep Throat is considered the first full-length pornographic feature. The climate of the 70s, with a sexual revolution floating in the air, was the breeding ground for pornography to jump into the arena along with mainstream cinema. Other representative titles of the era were Behind the Green Door, the first film known to depict interracial sex, or The Devil in Miss Jones, amongst others. The Deuce is an HBO TV show that takes place in New York City's West 42nd Street, starting in the 1960s until the 1980s. The show stems from the minds of George Pelecanos and David Simmons, who were also the co-creators of The Wire. The Deuce depicts the life of people that live in the fringe of society. The main business in The Deuce is the sex trade in the form of prostitution and pornography. Social and political changes are outlined through multifarious characters. Pimps have in the first and second season a prominent role. They are exposed as luring hunters who offer protection and love to the girls in order to sexually exploit them. Laurie Madison is one of these girls. She willingly falls into the arms of the manipulative and psychopath Cece. Her character is, as Caroline Bronsby puts it, passive, childlike, and vulnerable. Under the wing of two men, Cece and Greg, She will go from turning tricks in the Deuce sidewalk to porn stardom. Candy, another character, will back her career up and also will try to help her when she hits rock bottom. Her demise is one of the most moving moments of the show. Candy opens up as an unusual hooker. She works in the Deuce unprotected, which is without a pimp. Candy, as any other woman who does not want to give up her freedom, will pay a high toll for her independence. She will live estranged from her family and will endure physical violence and sexism. Nevertheless, she will be able to release her creativity when she directs the film Red Hot, with Laurie Madison as her main star. In her work as a female erotica auteur, she will seek to put women's pleasure at the forefront of the camera. After meeting Andrea Dworkin, she will have a change of heart, and that will make her rethink the role of women in the sex industry. Abby is an uptown girl who drops out from university to work in the Deuce as a bartender. Following the spirit of the sexual revolution, she will embark in a non-monogamous relationship with Vincent. Their relationship will span for 15 years. Fascinated with the jungle of peculiar characters that populate the Deuce, she will befriend many prostitutes. Soon, she realizes that many women do not wish to leave the sex industry. Thus, she seeks to help them with medical attention and being their voice in local community meetings. When WAP, Women Against Pornography, takes a turn to the right in terms of politics, she advocates for freedom of speech and turns her back to them. She introduces Candy to Andrea Dworkin in a Women Against Pornography meeting. Later on, she will become disenchanted with the change of tides regarding politics in the Reagan era, and she will go back to the university. There is no simple answer regarding the question posed by Catus, why porn studies? Feminist scholars carry on a multifaceted debate where no one holds the absolute truth. The Deuce develops through a collage of various characters, a time where third-wave feminists ignited a controversial debate on whether pornography should exist or not. The Deuce foregrounds all these debates through the voices of women that tend to be unheard. The golden age of pornography ended when the VCR entered into American homes. I hope you have liked my presentation. Thank you for your attention.